Now at stage 6, paragraph page 458. Stage 6,
Yes.
458. And
Yes.
the last headword was roughly full stage revision.
Roughly. Yes.
Okay, so let's start with where you
Mm.
ended. Okay, let me check the question. Do you like?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you like rough
Yeah.
weather? Do you like rough weather? Yes or no?
No,
I
I
don't
don't
like
like
rough weather.
rough
I
weather.
prefer calm weather.
I prefer calm weather.
Which do you think is the roughest sport one can play? Which do you think is the roughest sport one can play? I think
Mm.
rugby
I think rugby
is the roughest sport
is the roughest sport
one can play.
one can play.
Very good. Okay, what do we usually mean by the word ground? What do we usually mean by the word ground? By the word
Mm.
ground,
But what
we
ground?
usually mean
We
the
usually
surface of the
mean the
land.
surface of the land.
Very good. Are there any shops in your town built below the level of the ground? Are there any shops in your town built below the level of the ground? Yes or no?
Yes,
There are some shops
there are
in my
some
town
shops in my
built
town
below the level of the
below
ground.
the level of the ground.
Where? Where?
In the center,
In the shopping center. Or like
shopping
the
center.
stations, right? The stations have shops also, underground station.
Underground actor. Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's correct.
You're right. Yeah.
Okay, next. When a table is not level, what must we do? When a table is not level, what must we do? When a
Mhm.
table is not
When a
level,
table is not a
we
level,
must put
we
something
must put
under
something
one of its
under the
legs.
one its leg.
One of its legs.
One of its legs.
Where has your town got an underground railway? Has your town got an underground railway? Yes or no?
No.
My town hasn't
My
got
town
an
hasn't got
underground
an
railway.
underground railway.
Where what's on the ground floor of your building? What's on the ground floor of your building?
Mm.
There's
There's mm,
some
there's
shops or parking lot
some shop or parking lot
on the ground floor
on
of
the
my
ground
building.
floor of my building.
What's the biggest or where's the biggest football ground in your town? Where's the biggest football ground in your town? The biggest football
The
ground
biggest football
in my
ground
town
in
is.
my town is.
You wouldn't know. You don't like football.
I like football, but
Let's say
I don't know
ABC
where.
Stadium.
ABC, okay, ABC Stadium.
Very good. Are the grounds of some famous old buildings in your country open to the public? Are the grounds of some famous old buildings in your country open to the public? Yes. The grounds
Yes,
of
the
some
ground
famous old
of some
buildings
famous old
in my
buildings
country are
in my
open to the
country
public.
are open to the public.
Very good. How can parents start educating their children before they go to school? How can
Mm,
parents start educating their children before they go to school? Parents
mm.
can start
Parents
educating
can start
their children
educating their
before going
children
to school
before going to
by
school
teaching them to read
by
and
teaching
write,
them to read and write,
etc.
etc.
Very good. What do we mean by an educated person? What do we mean by an educated person? By an
Mm.
educated
By
person,
an educated
we mean
person,
somebody
we
who
mean
has
somebody
continued
who
their
has
studies
continued
to a
their
high
studies
level.
to a higher level.
Where you tell me four common ways in which we can make a suggestion. Tell me four common ways in which we can make a suggestion, please. Four
Oh,
common ways
or common,
in
four
which
common ways in
we
which
can make a
we
suggestion
can make a
are,
suggestion.
shall we wait
Uh,
for him?
shall we shall we wait for him?
Let's wait for him.
Let's wait for him.
How about waiting for him?
How about waiting for
Why
him?
don't we wait for him?
Why don't we wait for him?
Very good. How do we make the imperative in English? How do we make the imperative in English? We make
Mm.
the
We
imperative
make
in
the
English
imperative in
by using
English
the
by
infinitive
using the
without
infinitive
to.
without to.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples, please. Give me the
Mm.
book.
Give me the book.
Do it now.
Do it now.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Very good. Okay, next. How do we make a negative imperative? How do we make a
Mm.
negative imperative? We make
Mm.
a
We
negative
make a
imperative
negative
by
imperative
putting the word
by putting the word don't
don't before the infinitive.
before infinitive.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. Don't give
Mm.
him the book.
Don't give him the book.
Don't be late.
Don't be late.
Don't forget to email
Don't
me.
forget to email me.
Very good. Okay, next. What does it sometimes mean when we put the word over before a verb? What does it sometimes mean when we put the word over before a verb? When we put
Mm.
the
When
word
put
over
the word over
before a verb,
with
it's
before the verb,
it
it
sometimes means
sometimes it
to do
means
something
to do
excessively.
something excessively.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples, please. Oversleep,
Mm. Oversleep
overeat,
or
etc.
overeat, etc.
What might happen if we overate? What might happen if we overate? If we
Mm.
overate,
If we
we
overeat,
might get stomach
we
ache.
might get stomach ache.
Wait, have you ever been late for work because you've overslept? Have you ever been late for work because you've overslept? Yes or no?
Yes,
I've been late for work
I've been late for work
because I've overslept.
because I've overslept.
Yeah, me many times. Very good. Are nurses and doctors in busy hospitals often overworked? Are nurses and doctors in busy hospitals often overworked? Yes.
Yes,
Nurses and doctors
nurses and the
in busy
doctors
hospitals
in busy
are
hospital
often overworked.
are often overworked.
Very good. What are the contraries of overcook and overpay? What are the contraries
Oh,
of overcook and overpay? The
mm.
contraries
The
of
contraries
overcook
of
and
overcook
overpay
and
are
overpay
undercook and
are
underpay.
undercook and underpay.
Very good. What do we mean when we say that somebody is underpaid for the work they do? What do we mean when we say that
Oh,
somebody is underpaid for the work they do? When we
mm.
say that
When we
somebody
say
is
that
underpaid
somebody is
for the
underpaid
work they do,
with the work that they do,
we mean they are not
we
paid
mean
enough
they are not paid enough
for the work they do.
for what they do.
Very good. What happens to people who are charged by the police with committing serious crimes? What happens to
Mm.
people who are charged by the police with committing serious crimes? People who are
Mhm.
charged
People who
by
are
the
charged
police
by the
with
police
committing serious crimes
with committing suicide, the serious
are
crimes,
first taken to court,
was taken to court,
and then, if they are
and
found
then,
guilty,
if they were found
they
guilty,
are sent to prison.
they are sent to prison.
Very good. How would you feel if you were told to charge the enemy in a battle? How would you feel if you were told to charge the enemy in a battle? If I were told
Mm. If
to
I were told
charge the enemy
to
in a
charge
battle,
the enemy in a battle,
I'd probably feel
I would probably feel
very afraid.
very
Well,
afraid.
if you
Mm.
had to be in charge of a big business, what kind of business would you choose? If you had to be in
Mm.
charge of a big business, what kind of business would you choose? If I had to
Mm.
be
If
in
I had
charge
to
of a
be
big
in
business,
charge of a big
I
business,
choose.
I choose a food business.
Very good. If you were seriously
Mm.
overcharged in a restaurant, what would you ask to speak to the manager? If you were seriously
Mm.
overcharged in a restaurant, would you ask to speak to the manager? Yes. If I
Yes.
were seriously
If I was seriously
overcharged in a restaurant,
overcharged in a
I'd
restaurant,
ask to speak to the
I'd
manager.
ask to speak to the manager.
Very good. Have you ever refused to pay the service charge in a restaurant? Have you ever refused to pay the service charge in a
Oh,
restaurant? Yes or no?
no.
I've never refused
I've never
to
refused
pay the service
to
charge
pay the service
in a
charge
restaurant.
in a restaurant.
Very good. What's
Mm.
another use of the word charge? What's another use of the word charge? Another use
Mhm.
of
Another
the word
use
charge
of the word
is in
charge
charging a
is
battery.
in charging a
For
battery.
example, in a mobile
For
phone. For example,
for example,
in a
in a
mobile phone.
mobile phone.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you have to recharge your mobile? How often do you have to
Mm.
recharge your mobile? I have to
Mm.
recharge
I
my
have to
mobile
recharge my mobile
how many times a day?
once a day.
Once a day. Very good. Next, was the sky clear yesterday? Was the sky clear yesterday? Yes or no?
Mm. Yes.
The sky was clear
The sky
yesterday.
was clear yesterday.
Very good. Can you make yourself clearly understood when you speak English in everyday situation? Can you make yourself clearly
Mm.
understood when you speak English in everyday situations? Yes, I can make
Yes.
myself.
I can. Mm?
I can
I
make
can.
myself
I can make myself
clearly understood
clearly
when I
understood
speak English
when I speak
in everyday
English
situation.
in everyday situation.
Where at what time of day are the streets usually at their clearest as regards traffic? At what time of day are the streets usually at their clearest as regards traffic? The streets
Mm.
are
The
usually
street are
at
usually
their clearest
at their
at
clearest
as regards traffic.
at regard to traffic
What time?
at 3 a.m.
3 a.m. Very clear. That's correct.
Mm.
Who
Mhm.
clears the tables in the restaurant? Who clears the table in the restaurant? The waiters
Mm.
and
The
waitresses
waiters and the
clear the
waitresses
tables in the restaurant.
clear the table in the restaurant.
Very good. If you invited me to your house, would you be my guest or my hostess? If you invited me to your house, would you be my guest or my hostess? If I
Mm.
invited you
If
to
I
my house,
invited you to my
I'd be
house,
your hostess.
I'd be your hostess.
Very good. If you could play host to three famous guests, which three famous people would you choose? If you could play
Mm.
host to three famous guests, which three famous people would you choose? If I could play host,
If I could, mm?
if I could
If I
play
could play
host
host
to three famous guests,
to three famous
I
guests,
choose.
I choose. I don't know.
Let's say
Let's see.
Kishida,
Okay.
Suga,
Kishida, Sugao. I hate them. Kishida
and Trump.
and Trump. Ah,
Uh,
oh, the most.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, what
Yeah.
are the three
Mm.
forms of pride? What are the three forms of pride? The three forms of
Ah,
pride
the three forms of
are
ride
ride, road, ridden.
ride road ridden.
Have you ever ridden a horse? Have you ever ridden a horse? Yes or no?
No,
I've never
I've
ridden a horse.
never ridden a horse.
Have you ever ridden a bicycle at night without lights? Have you ever ridden a bicycle at night without lights?
Ah,
Yes or no?
yes.
I've ridden a bicycle
I ridden a
at
bicycle
night without
at
lights.
night without light.
Very good biking. Okay. If you were a judge, on what kind of criminals would you be most severe? If you were a
Mm,
judge, on what kind of criminals would you be most severe? If I were
mhm.
a judge,
If I were a
the
judge,
kind of criminals
the kind of
I'd be most
criminals
severe on
I'd be most
would
severe
be
on would be
murderers.
murderers.
Very good. Do you get very severe
Mm,
winters in your country? Do you get very severe winters in your country? Yes or no?
yes.
We get very
We
severe
get the
winters
very severe winters
in my
in my
country.
country.
Very good. What do people say they see when they receive a blow on the head? What do people say they see when they receive a blow on the head? People say
Mm,
they see
people say
stars
this is the
when
stars
they receive a blow
when they receive the
on the
blow
head.
on on the
On
head.
the head. Very good. Okay.
Mm,
What kind of people do you respect most? What kind of people do you respect most? The kind of people
mm. The kind
I
of
respect
people
most
I
are
respect the most are people uh, who treat anybody equally.
like
I'd say
fair people or
fair
fair
people.
people.
Yes.
That's great. Very
Mhm.
good. Me too. I think that's like very like reserved respect. Okay. Next. If you had your own company, would you employ someone simply because they were a friend? If you had your own company,
No,
would you employ someone simply because they were a friend? No. If I
no.
had my
If
own
I
company,
had my own
I
company,
wouldn't employ
I
someone
wouldn't employ
simply
someone
because they were a
simply
friend.
because they're a friend.
Megan, what do we employ to cut bread? What do we employ to cut bread? We employ a
Oh,
knife
we employ a
to
knife
cut bread.
to cut bread.
What do we call a person who employs somebody to work for them? What do we call a person who employs somebody to work for them? We call a
Mm.
person
We call
who
a
employs
person
somebody
or employs
to
somebody
work for them an
to work
employer.
for them, an employer.
And what do we call the person who works for them? What do we call the person who works for them? We call the
Mm.
person
We call
who
the
works for
person
them
who works for
an
them,
employee.
an employee.
Very good. Okay, next. Are there a lot of machines in a factory? Are there a lot of machines in a factory? Yes,
Hmm.
there are
Yes,
a lot
there
of
are
machines
a lot of
in a
machines
factory.
in the factory.
What do we use a cash machine for? What do we use a cash machine for? We
Mm.
use a cash
We
machine
use a cash
for taking
machine
money
for
out
taking
of the
money
bank
out of the bank
quickly and easily.
uh, quickly and easily.
Very
Okay.
good. What could happen if you could accidentally put a red sock in a washing machine with white clothes? What could happen if you accidentally put a red sock in a washing machine with white clothes? If I
Mm.
accidentally
If I
put a red
accidentally
sock
put
in
a
a
lead
washing
sock
machine
in a washing
with white
machine
clothes,
with a white
I
clothes,
could get pink
I
clothes.
could get pink clothes.
What are the three forms
Mm.
of fly? What are the three forms of fly? The three forms
The
of
three
fly.
forms of
I
fly
fly, flew,
are
flown.
fly, flew, flown.
Have you ever flown in a plane? Have you ever flown in a plane? Yes or no?
Yes,
I've flown in a plane.
I've flown in a plane.
Very good. Are you good at drawing pictures? Are you good at drawing pictures? Yes or no?
No,
I'm not good at
I'm not good
drawing
at drawing
pictures. Yeah,
pictures.
me neither. What do we mean by a rough drawing? What do we mean by a rough drawing? By a rough
Oh,
drawing,
by a rough
we
drawing,
mean a very
we
simple
mean
drawing.
a very simple drawing.
What's the easiest way to draw out cash? What's the easiest way to draw out cash? The easiest
Oh,
way
the easiest
to
way
draw out
to
cash
draw out
is to
cash
use a bank
is to
card
use a bank
in a
card
cash machine.
in a cash machine. Mm.
What does to draw the curtains mean? What does to draw the curtains mean? To draw the
Mm.
curtains
To
means
draw the
to
curtains
pull
means
them open or
to pull
close.
them open on the clothes.
Very good. Okay, next. How do we form the perfect continuous tenses? How do we form the
Oh,
perfect continuous tenses? We form the perfect
before
continuous
the
tenses.
perfect continuous sentence,
One more. We form
what
the
we
perfect
form the perfect
continuous tenses
continuous sentences.
by
Okay,
using the verb
by
have,
using the verb have,
the word been,
the word
and
been,
the present
and
participle
the present
of
participle
the main verb.
participle of the uh,
Of the main
of the
verb.
main verbs.
Very good. Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I have been
Mm.
studying
I have been
for two
studying
hours.
for 2 hours.
Very good. When do we use the present perfect continuous? When do we use the present perfect continuous? We use
Mm.
the
We
present
use
perfect
the
continuous
present perfect
to say
continuous
how long an
to
action
say how long an
has
action
been in progress
has
so
been
far.
in progress so far.
Very good. Give me an example.
Mm.
Give me an example, please. I have been
Mm.
living
I have been
in this
living
house for
in
six
this
months so
house
far.
for 6 months so far.
Very good. Okay. When do we use the past perfect continuous? When do we use the past perfect continuous? We use
Mm.
the past
We use
perfect
the past
continuous
perfect
to
continuous
communicate the
to
duration of
communicate
an
the
action
duration of an
up
action
to a particular
up
point
to a
in
particular
the
point
past.
in the past.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I had been
Mm.
living
I
in this
had been
house
living
for
in
one
this
month.
house for
One
six
month.
months,
For
one
1 month
month,
when I bought my new
when I
bed.
bought my new bed.
What do we use or when do we use the future perfect continuous? When do we use the future
Oh.
perfect continuous? We use
Mm.
the
We
future
use
perfect
the
continuous
future perfect
to
continuous
communicate the
to
duration of
communicate
an
the
action
duration of an
up
action
to a particular
up
point
to a particular
in the
point
future.
in the future.
Very good. Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I will have
Mm.
been
I
living
will have been
in this house
living in this house
for 8 months
for eight
at the
months
end of this year.
at the end of this year. Mm.
Very good. How long had you been sitting in that room for when I came in? How long had you been sitting in that room for when I came in? I had been
Mm.
sitting
I had
in
been
this room
sitting
for
in this room for 2 hours
when you came in.
when we came in.
Very good. Since when have you been studying English? Since when have you been studying English? I've been
Oh,
studying English
I've been studying English
since
since 2019, no, 2019.
2019, before the pandemic, right?
Mhm.
Very good.
Yes.
Next, how long will you have been living in that place for when this year ends? How long will you have been living in that place for when this year ends? I'll have been
Mm.
living
I have been
in
living
this place for
in this place for 8 years.
when this year ends.
When this year ends.
Very good.
Mm.
Since when? Since when? Since
Since
2015?
2015. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, next. What's the difference between saying I have been living here for 2 months and I have lived here for 2 months? What's the difference
Mm.
in saying between I have been living here for 2 months and I have lived here for 2 months? There is
Mm.
no important
There's
difference
no important
between
difference
saying I have been
between
living
saying I
here
have been
for two
living here
months
for two
and I
months
have lived here
and
for
I
two
have lived
months.
here for 2 months.
Very good. Who was the last ruler of your country? Who was the last ruler of your country? The last ruler.
Mm. The ruler
The last
of
ruler
my last ruler
of my country
of
was
my country was Mr. Suga.
Suga. Very good.
Yeah.
Could you draw a
Mhm.
completely straight line without the help of a ruler? Could you draw a completely straight line without the help of a ruler? Yes or no?
No,
I couldn't
I
draw
couldn't
a
draw
completely straight
a
line
completely straight line
without the help of
without
a ruler.
without a
The
help
help
of ruler.
of a
The
ruler.
help of a ruler. Okay.
Very good. Okay. Generally
Mm,
speaking, what's the difference between Earth and world? Generally speaking, what's the difference between Earth and world? Generally
mm.
speaking, the
Generally
difference
speaking,
between
the difference
Earth and
between
world
Earth and the
is that
world
we use
is
the word
we
Earth,
use the
Earth
word Earth
in the astronomical
in the
sense, astronomical,
astronomical sense.
and world
Astronomical and the world
in the geographical sense.
in the geographical
Very
sense.
good. One more. Generally speaking,
Generally
the
speaking,
difference between Earth
the difference
and world
between Earth and the
is
world
that we use
is
the
that
word
we
Earth
use the word
in
Earth
the
in
astronomical
the
sense,
astronomical sense,
whereas we use the
whereas
world
we use the word
in the
in
no, not in the in
hmm?
the geographical
In
sense.
the
Geographical
sorry,
sense.
geographical sense. Sorry.
Very good. How far is the Earth from the sun? How far is the Earth from the sun? The Earth's
Mm.
about
The Earth about
93 million miles
93 million
from the
miles.
sun.
Oh, really? From the
Oh,
sun.
very near. Okay. What's mud? What's mud? What's mud? Mud's a mixture
Oh, a mud, a
of
mixture
earth and
of
water.
earth and the water.
Very good. By what means can we draw a straight line? By what means can we draw a straight line? We can draw
Mm.
a straight
We
line
can draw a straight
by
line
means of a pen
means of a pen
or a pencil and
and
a ruler.
or a pencil and a ruler.
Very good. By what means do you come to school? By what means do you come to school? I come to
Mm.
school
I come to
by
school
means of,
by means of
let's say, car
oh,
or train,
train
train
or
or
foot.
car. Oh, on foot. Very good. By
Or
means of
foot.
my foot. Okay, very good.
Mm,
Okay,
anyway.
so we stop there for today, but very good practice.